Episode 7. A Difficult Choice. Bunnie lit the candles and blew out the match softly. She smiled to herself and looked around her hut. The candlelight mixed with the approaching twilight to create a slightly dim but romantic atmosphere. The food she had prepared filled her nostrils with pleasant smells as it simmered on her stove. The small table was set for two, seated directly across from each other. She used her finest dishes. Another family heirloom she managed to salvage. Ooh! Yeah, she thought. Everything's perfect. Now for the next step. Nicole, she said, looking at the only corner of her hut completely engulfed in shadows. Yeah, I'll search your database for any music that be considered romantic. Searching now, Bunnie, Nicole answered, accompanied by a few beats. Search complete. I'm still seeing Nicole's HoloLinks form with a little chef's hat. I have 432 musical programs that fit your description. That's a little help, Bunnie muttered. Well, do you got anything that Antoine might like? I do not have sufficient data to comply with that request. Bunnie smirked. She had a feeling Nicole was being ornery on purpose. And all saw it when Sonic got a hold of her and loosened her attitude. Well then, I guess I better give you back to Sally, Bunnie said slyly. I'm sure she has some long, boring calculations for you to do. Nicole's monitor flickered. There's no need for that, she said quickly. Further analysis has narrowed the field down to 15 choices. Bunnie stifled a chuckle. Will that last for about an hour? Each song is approximately 3 minutes in length. I could include other songs that might make it more to your liking to fill the remaining time. Make it about half and half, Bunnie said, walking through to her bathroom. Let's start playing when Sugar Cow knocks at the door. I got some preparing of my own to do. As you wish, Bunnie, Nicole said as Bunnie closed the door, sounding relieved. She started running the water and undressed after she adjusted it to the right temperature. Hubba, hubba. Thank you. She took a quick shower, but a thorough one, knowing that Antoine would be there soon. Bunnie thought back to when she had surprised her in the shower only a few months back. That had been embarrassing on both ends, and no desire to repeat the occurrence. Finishing in record time, for her anyway, she dried off quickly, threw on a robe, and walked to her bedroom. She opened the closet and started searching for a specific dress, one that she had waited to use until a special night. I couldn't think of a more special night than this. When she found it, though, she had quite a few holes in it. My mom will destroy us! She exclaimed. Damn, I was sure I mothballed it. Now what I'm gonna do? Yeah, your poor mother. Still totally not a traitor. She looked over the dress to assess the damage. While the lower part of it was relatively untouched, the upper part had been pretty much eaten through. She stared at it, trying to decide what to do. They hit upon an idea. Grabbing a pair of scissors, she cut away the eaten part until only a skirt remained. She threw her robe on her bed and put on the best jumpsuit. She then slipped on the skirt to make it a couple of quick stitches at the waist to make it fit better. That done, she looked at herself in the mirror. The dark blue of the skirt matched well with the purple jumpsuit. Together could be taken for a whole dress. Bunnie smiled and turned around. She stared at her profile and saw that from the right side, it was impossible to tell that she was anything but a beautiful, sensuous doe. Her smile turned sad as her robotic arm came back into view. Maybe one day, she whispered to her reflection. Bunnie heard a soft knocking at the door as she put on the finishing touches. Bunnie, are you home? A muffled voice asked as Nicole started playing the first selection. Bunnie took in a deep breath and let it out slow. Down's here, girl, she told her reflection. She opened her door to her room and called, Come on in, Antoine. The door opened and Antoine walked in. In his hands were a large bouquet of flowers, cut and trimmed and placed in a crystal vase. Ugh, how beautiful, Bunnie said gladly, walking up to him and taking the vase. I know just where to put these. Antoine watched silently as he placed the vase in the center of the table. Bunnie noticed him staring at her and smiled. Is something wrong, Antoine? She asked calmly, walking up to him, taking his hand in hers. Antoine shook his head slowly. No, he stammered, clearing his throat. I am just thinking that perhaps I am a bit under the rest, he explained, indicating his uniform. You look fine to me, sugar, Bunnie whispered to his ear, lightly kissing it. And you look completely ravishing, my lovely little doll, Antoine returned, kissing her back. Now, Come here and sit down, she said, leaning to the table. I got a whole meal prepared especially for you. Antoine looked flustered as he sat down. Am I forgetting some special day? Antoine, he wondered aloud. It seems that we ought to be celebrating something. We are, Bunnie said mysteriously, walking toward the kitchen. I am not believing it is your birthday or mine, or an anniversary of some sort, Antoine muttered, bewildered. Bunnie just kept smiling as he brought in the food. I'll tell you, eventually, she said. But for now, just relax and enjoy. I went through a lot to make sure this was perfect, and I intend to follow through. A half hour later, Antoine and Bunnie were leaning in their chairs, contented. The remnants of a large meal were evident on their dishes. That was one of the best meals I am ever to be tasting, Antoine commented, wiping his mouth on a napkin. I'm glad about that, sugar, Bunnie said, smiling. Antoine leaned forward and rested on his elbows on the table. So, are you now going to tell me what this special reason is? He asked. Whatever it is, it has put you in a very good mood tonight. Bunnie leaned forward until her face was just inches away from his. Oh, it's nothing really, she said quietly, her breath soft against his face. I just wanted to show you how much I love you. And I love you too, Antoine said, taking her hands in his. His ears perked up as he heard a new song begin. May I have the honor of this dance? He asked, rising from the table. I'll be delighted, Bunnie answered, standing and moving in his arms. Antoine held her close, and he started swaying in time to the music, cheek to cheek. Can you answer me one question? He whispered as he danced. What do you think, sugar? Not that I am complaining, but I am just wondering why you decided to do this now. What brought this on? Bunnie moved her head back until she could look at Antoine in the eyes. When we were in the void, it offered us our deepest desires in order to stop us from destroying it. I was getting second thoughts, and so were all the others. But not you, Antoine. You said that having me by your side was the most important thing to you. So much so the void couldn't even try to offer you nothing. Oui, but let me finish, Bunnie interrupted. At that point, I knew that no matter what the void offered, it couldn't compare to being with you. For the first time in my life, I knew what it was like to be totally loved, and to be totally in love, and I just wanted to share that feeling with you. Tears formed in Antoine's eyes. Oh, my little doll, he whispered. You have made me the happiest coyote in the forest tonight. No, in all of movies, there cannot be one as happy as I am tonight. Bunnie smiled, drawing his head to hers. And the night's not over yet, sugar cow, she said softly, kissing him gently on the lips. Antoine embraced her more warmly and began kissing her, as he had in the void. Bunnie responded to his passion with her own, hugging him as close as tight as she could. Bunnie felt as the world were standing still. The only things that could move were her and Antoine. Everything had gone so far, planned this far. Nothing could ruin this night. A sharp crack, followed by a groan from Antoine's mouth, brought her back to reality. Antoine? She asked nervously, backing away from a couple of steps. What happened? Antoine was holding his right side, grunting in pain. It is nothing, he forced out through clenched teeth. Bunnie took Antoine to her bedroom and lay down. Nicole, I need music and prepare for a medical scan, she called, running over and grabbing the computer. Starting scan now, Bunnie, Nicole said, as Bunnie brought her into the room. Nicole bathed the squirming Antoine in light. Scan complete. Well, what's wrong with him? Bunnie asked impatiently. Antoine is suffering from some cracked right ribs due to an inordinate amount of crushing pressure applied to the area. Mind repeating that in angles, Nicole? You hugged him too tight and cracked a couple of his ribs, Bunnie. He'll have to be taped up and rest in bed for at least a couple of weeks. Bunnie looked at Antoine in horror. What have I done? She moaned. It is not your fault, Bunnie, Antoine said, though talking caused him obvious pain. You did not know it would happen. Bunnie just started backing up, shaking her head. What have I done? She repeated. She turned around and ran out of her bedroom and out of her hut. Antoine tried to get up and follow her, but he was just in too much pain. Bunnie! He yelled, grabbing his side again. Wait, please, do not be leaving me! Wrapped up in her own grief and despair, Bunnie did not hear Antoine's pleas. She ran out of the knothole into the great forest, trying to outrun the pain. How could I have thought I have a normal laugh looking like this? She thought, tears streaming from her eyes. I could have certainly hurt certain cow tonight. I'm a monster. She ran through the forest, the trees and bushes catching her dress. She struggled out of her skirt, kept running in her jumpsuit. She ran until she could no more, and collapsed to the forest floor, crying. She felt all her grief being wrung out of her as she cried, leaving behind an intense anger and hatred. She stared at her robotic parts, anger growling. Yes, they were capable of so much good, but she was not in the mood to see that at the moment. All she saw were hideous things of deconstruction and evil, and she wanted to be rid of them. She pulled at her right arms and legs, trying to detach them, but in her blind rage she forgot about the latches that held them in place. Try as might, she could not even loosen them, and that only increased her rage. The sounds of battle caught her attention. She ran towards the source and saw two SWAT bots with their guns trained on Donovan. A third SWAT bot lay fallen to the ground, its arm missing. Apparently the gun had somehow exploded, which was probably the only reason Donovan was yet unroboticized. But Bunnie paid no attention to that. All she saw was an outlet for her anger. She rushed the SWAT bots, yelling madly. The SWAT bots turned to face her, but she was on them before they could register as a threat. She buried her shoulder into the midsection of the first robot, driving them both backward into a tree. The SWAT bots crunched together and fell to the ground, sparks flying from their damaged areas. But Bunnie wasn't nearly done. She rained down a flurry of punches, kicks, chops, and stomps at her fallen foes. She kept pounding them until nothing remained but a block of metal no bigger than a brick. And even then she kept stomping until that block was firmly and completely buried in the ground. She fell to her knees, still pounding the ground, but crying now. As her anger drained away, her grief returned. It seemed she was incapable of feeling anything else at the moment. Donovan stared at her, not quite knowing what to make of the situation. Do I really want to bother her in this state? He asked himself, discovered a feeling of deja vu. Still, he continued, she did just save my tail, so I should at least try to find out what's wrong. Donovan slowly crept up to her and laid a hand on her shoulder. Bunnie pulled away at first, but because the pain was so great, she found herself relaying all that had happened. It's all because of these! She finished, casting a bitter glance at her robotic parts. I had my way. I'll be rid of them in one way or another. Donovan grown extremely thoughtful in the latter moments of Bunnie's tale. Seeing her trying to unlatch her robotic parts, he reached inside his vest and pulled out a small canister. Be careful what you whiz for, Bunnie, he said, shaking it. You might just get it. He sprayed her in the face with the contents of the canister. Bunnie coughed and gagged, then passed out. He picked her up on his shoulder. Device 1, activated, he said quietly, and did not disturb Bunnie. His rocket boots fired up and he flew off, heading for Knothole. Meanwhile, back in Knothole, everyone heard Antoine screaming for Bunnie to come back, and hurried to Bunnie's side to see what was wrong. While Teal, Sandra, and Dulcie managed crowd control, Sonic, Sally, and Rotor assisted the situation. Man, Sonic said after Antoine had been coaxed into talking, that's rough.
Yeah, Bunnie agreed. I guess Bunnie got so wrapped up in the moment, she forgot how strong she was.
Quiet, you two, Sally ordered, walking out of the bedroom. Antoine's finally asleep, and I don't want him waking up anytime soon. Maybe I should fetch Tannis, Sonic suggested. He's a pretty powerful magician, so he might be able to heal him up. Good idea, Sonic, Sally said. Just try not to call attention to this, she finished lamely, and Sonic had already taken off. Where's Sonic going? Dulcie asked, poking her head through the open door. Don't worry about it, Dulcie, Sally said calmly. Just keep everyone out. Dulcie whispered something to Tails and Sandra, then hunched her way into the hut. Everyone's getting pretty restless out there, Sally. They're imagining some wild things about Tony. You better do something. Oh, right, Sally sighed. She walked outside and immediately was berated with questions about Antoine's well-being. Animals wondering if he was ill, had been attacked, or some other far-fetched things. And apparently, they all had those weird little microphone things pointing right at her for the news conference. Sally held her hands up for quiet. Antoine is all right, she said when everyone had quieted down. He just had a bit of an accident and cracked a couple of ribs. Sonic went to get Taz to heal him up. Are you sure it was an accident? A voice asked. And if it was, what happened? Sally detected a look of anger on Tails and Sandra's faces. She recognized the voice as the same one who questioned Sandra about the motives before entering the void. But try as she might, she could not put the voice with a face, and that disturbed her. Sally cursed inwardly. There had recently been some disturbance among the citizens in Nahal, seeing that someone had tried to stir up some resentment against Sandra for being different than the natural. Most of them had rejected the idea, but a few were taking it to heart. She blamed the mysterious voice for it, especially seeing no one had stepped forward to take credit for what was happening. Antoine said so himself, Sally answered, keeping her voice level. We finally got him to get some rest, so I'd like it if everyone returned to what they were doing, kept this area as quiet as possible. Come on, everyone, move along, Teal said, starting to usher them away. Yeah, you heard my sis, Sandra added. We'll tell you when we find out anything else. Most of them went willingly, but a few cast angry glances at Sandra, then at Sally. Sally waited until everyone had left, then motioned Teals and Sandra inside. So, are you going to tell us what really happened, Aunt Sally? Tails asked, trying to act innocent. Sally smirked. That won't work anymore, Tails, she said, chuckling. You don't look the part anymore. Aww. Don't worry, Miles, Sandra said, smiling. You still look good looking to me. Tails started blushing, and Sally and Sandra burst out laughing. Not too loud, because Antoine was still sleeping, but it did make Tails blush an even brighter red. Further comments were interrupted by a knock at the door. Sonic must be back, Sally said, putting her hand to the knob. But since when does he knock? She opened the door and found Bunnie lying on the ground, unconscious. Bunnie! She exclaimed, kneeling by her friend. Are you all right? Wake up! But Bunnie just lay there asleep. Tails, Sandra, and Dulcie rushed out of the hut. What happened to her? Sandra asked, helping Sally get Bunnie up to the sitting position. Dulcie moved her head close to Bunnie's and sniffed. Her eyes glazed over for a second and muttered, I'm home, Ma. She then shook her head. Wow, smells like someone used a sleep gas on her. Pretty strong, too. She'll be out till morning. How do you know that, Dulcie? Tails asked. Dulcie pointed her snout up. It blew a small, thin stream of green smoke. As I get older, I find more powers. Found this one the other day. Well, whatever happened to her, we better get her inside before anyone else sees her like this, Sally said, dragging her inside. As they were dragging her inside, a note fell from her hand. Sandra saw it and picked up the note as she and Tails were coming inside. This fell off Bunnie, Sally, Sandra said as she handed the note to Sally. Sally read the note. When Bunnie is up to it tomorrow, have her meet me at Sanctuary, so you can bring whoever she likes. Donovan. Sally's brow drew closer into concern. What is Donovan up to? She wondered. What business could it possibly have with Bunnie? Then Sally noticed more handwriting scrawled at the bottom of the paper. If you are done reading this, silly, please do not throw this note away like you did the last one. She smirked. She felt like throwing the note away just for spite, but something stopped her. Maybe I should at least tell Bunnie, she thought. After all, it is for her. What's the note about, Aunt Sally? Tails asked. Oh, it's nothing, honey, she answered. Just wait for Sonic to bring Tannis back. I got something to do right now. Tails and Sandra exchanged a glance, then stared at Sally. Why don't we believe you? They asked almost simultaneously. Sally shrugged, trying to change the subject, but Tails and Sandra continued to stare at her. All right already, she said, throwing her hands up in surrender. I'll tell you. Besides, I think I hear Sonic coming now. I don't hear... Sandra began. Hey! She exclaimed as Sally slipped out the door. Forget it, Sandra, Tails said, grabbing her arm and was about to go after her sister. When Aunt Sally wants to be alone, no one can find her. In the meantime, Dulcie said, hunting back into the hut, you two help me figure out where to put Bunnie. Antoine's using her bed, so he can't be moved. You know, you could always put Bunnie in Antoine's bed. I don't think he would mind. What really happened to him? Sandra asked, concerned. Brother will fill you in, Dulcie said, picking up Bunnie and moving toward the bedroom. Sally sat by the power ring pool, lost in thought. Donovan was a mystery to her. He seemed capable of helping her 1 minute and trying to capture her the next. I just don't know what he's about anymore, she thought. He's not the squirrel I knew back in Mobotropolis. He and Antoine used to be the best of friends, and he was my friend too. But now I'm not sure I can trust him. She looked at the waters of the pool and the ripples of leaves as they fell off the nearby trees. But he did bring me my father back, she admitted. So I suppose I owe him at least this much. Very well then. When Bunnie's up to it, we'll meet him at Sanctuary. The next day, Bunnie and Sally walked to Sanctuary and sat down on the steps. What do you think this meeting's about, Sally girl? Bunnie asked. I don't know, Bunnie, but it can't be a trick. If he wanted to capture us again, he wouldn't be doing it here. I guess, Bunnie said impatiently. Hope he shows up soon. I gotta get back and check in on Antoine. Bunnie, we talked about this, Sally scolded gently. Antoine's not going to heal any faster with you hovering over him. Yes, Tannis healed his ribs, but he still needs a few days' bed rest. I still wish he'd show up, Bunnie grumbled, looking back at Knothole.
But he is here,
a voice said behind him. They turned to look and found Tannis standing at the top of the stairs, smiling gently.
He is waiting inside for you. Please, follow me.
Sally and Bunnie walked up the stairs and into the church.
He is sitting down in front,
Tannis whispered. They thanked him and made their way to the front of the church. Donovan was sitting on the front bench, legs crossed, hands on his knees and eyes closed. He seemed to be in deep meditation. Both Sally and Bunnie weren't sure they should interrupt. As they were about to tiptoe away, Donovan spoke.
Thank you for coming, Bunnie. I'll admit, I wasn't sure you would.
Well, you wanted me here, and now I am, Bunnie said. Mind telling me why I'm here?
All in good time, Donovan said, still not moving. Did you bring anyone with you?
I'm here, Sally said.
That's good, silly, and I'm glad you didn't throw away the note.
Oh, come off it, Donovan, Sally said, a little angry. I know you know my name. Stop calling me silly.
I think we're getting off subject here, Donovan said. Princess, if that will suit you better, please ask Nicole to access her file on the Gem of Enchanted Dreams.
Why should I?
Donovan smiled. Humor me.
Sally took Nicole from her boot and opened it up. Nicole, access file on the Gem of Enchanted Dreams. Accessing now, Sally, Nicole said, followed by a brief pause. Unable to access file. Why not? File access requires an authorization code, Sally. That's odd, Sally said. I know Daddy time-watched some files, so I couldn't access them until I came of age. But I never encountered one with an access code before.
Donovan smirked. Nicole, authorization code. Omega 439er.
Code accepted, Donovan, Nicole said. Loading recorded message now. Bunnie, remind me to remove all authorization codes once I come of age. Sally said, forcing a smile.
When you come of age, those codes may no longer be needed,
Donovan remarked matter-of-factly. Beginning playback now, Nicole said.
Greetings, Princess. A strange voice said, I'm installing a few programs on your computer your father had Charles design for you. Ones that I think you'll need at some point in the future. This file contains a tool known as the Gem of Enchanted Dreams. This gem, once thought to be one of the legendary Chaos Emeralds, is rumored to appear once every 5 years in different places. It is said that whoever will find this jewel will be granted one wish, but be warned, it will only grant the wish you ask for. If you leave any room for it to distort the meaning of your wish, it'll do so.
End of recorded message, Sally, Nicole said. What the hoo-ha does this have to do with me, Donovan? Bunnie asked, just stared. A tear was visible on Donovan's cheek. He quickly wiped away.
Let's just say it's not a rumor, he said quickly. I have found it, and I can take you there.
Bunnie looked at him questioningly at first, then realized had set in, her mouth open in amazement. You mean I could wish these things away? Forever? She asked, indicating replied Parks.
If that's what you truly desire, yes, Donovan answered.
Wait a minute, Sally interjected. This seems a little too cut and dry for me. There has to be a catch.
Of course there is. The gem will set 3 challenges before you, and you must pass them all to get to it.
Great, Bunnie muttered. There ain't anything like what the void through is. I'll need all the help I can get.
Not so fast, Donovan said, holding up one hand. Part of the challenge is that you must do everything to reach it on your own. If anyone helps you, you lose your chance at a wish.
Do you honestly think I'm going to let her go by herself? Sally demanded.
Oh, you could go, Princess. But be warned, you may find you're more of a hindrance than a help. Donovan cautioned.
How much time do we have?
Bunnie asked. Maybe an hour or two. If you are going, meet me on the bridge within 10 minutes. Until then,
He said, then he continued his meditation. I don't trust this, Sally said, replacing the coal on her boot. There's got to be more than— Hey! Bunnie grabbed Sally's arm and started dragging her away. Sally girl, if there's any way I can be real of these things, I'm gonna do it, no matter what it takes. At the appointed time, Bunnie and Sally were sitting on the bridge, along with Sonic, Tails, Sandra, and Dulcie. This sounds major bogus, Sal, Sonic said, peering into the forest just beyond the ridge. Sonic, we've been through this already, Sally said. Donovan may not be on our side, but he certainly can be trusted. Maybe, Tails said, but he also says he can keep things hidden if he wants. Oh, Miles, I told you about that, Sandra pointed out. I'm the one who asked Donovan not to say anything. If you had to find fault, find it with me. Look, I don't care what problems you all have with Donovan, Bunnie said loudly. If he can get me rid of these things, I don't care why or how he does it.
Why, it's simple, Donovan said, emerging from the forest. You saved me from the swamp bots, so I feel indebted. The how will become obvious soon enough.
He scanned the group, then nodded to himself.
I see Boomer must be keeping Anthony in bed, else why would they be both here?
Whatever, Bunnie said a little angrily. We're going on what?
Whenever you're ready.
Then let's go, Sonic exclaimed. Wait a minute, Sonic, Sally said, standing in front of him. I thought we agreed I was going. Nuh-uh, you ain't going without me. I'm fine, Sister Ivy, let you go without me, Sandra added.
I'll make this simple,
Donovan said, cutting out Tails before he could speak.
I only have 3 teleport chips. One is for me, the second's for Bunnie, and the third is for her companion.
Everyone started arguing amongst themselves, trying to convince Bunnie to let him or her go. Bunnie tried to call for quiet, but no avail. Finally, she slammed her fist on the rail of the bridge, causing the entire structure to shake wildly. It also had the effect of shutting everyone up at once. Now look, Bunnie said, exasperated. I've already decided Sally's coming with me. I won't hear no more gruff about it, understand?
Glad that's decided,
Donovan muttered, placing a chip on both Sally and Bunnie.
Are we ready now?
Wait a minute, Sonic said. Fine, if I can't go with you, I want to at least make sure you get out here safely. He handed Sally a whistle he produced from his backpack. Here, Dulcie can hear this whistle from anywhere on Mobius, and she'll come in charging. Right, Dulce? You got it, Sonic, Dulcie replied, giving a thumbs up. And I want you to take this, Sandra said, holding a small crystal. When we destroyed the Void, I lost most of my powers, but I'm getting them back slowly. I made this crystal during my practices. Maybe it'll bring you some luck.
Can we leave now?
Donovan said, getting a little impatient. Both Sally and Bunnie nodded. Donovan brought out a remote control and pushed the button. A white light surrounded all 3 and they vanished. I don't know about the rest of you, Sonic said as they disappeared, but I'm waiting until they get back. He sat down on the bridge and folded his legs. I'll go for a quick flight, Dulcie said, taking off. We'll stay right here, Sonic, Tails and Sandra said together, sitting down on either side of Sonic at the same time. Sonic looked from one to the other. You two scare me when you do that, he said, trying to be serious. Tails and Sandra exchanged another glance. Well, you know, Sonic, Sandra began. I guess we were just thinking on the same wavelength. Knock it off! Sonic yelled, standing up and running back to Noddle at full speed. Tails and Sandra let him go, then high-fived each other without even turning their heads. When the dizziness wore off, Sally and Bunnie found themselves in a large cavern. Where are we? Bunnie asked, staring at the menacing stalactites that clung to the ceiling a few feet above their heads. It looks like one of the underground caves that run under Robotropolis, Sally remarked, patting one of the stalagmites that grew up from the ground. But yet, it doesn't look like anything I found on any map in Nicole's databases. Bunnie looked around, suddenly aware of one of their number was missing. Hey, where's Donovan? Sally shrugged. I guess we'll see him if we get to the gem. Remember, if he helps you in any way, you don't get your wish. And the same goes for me. Yeah, I know. Bunnie looked around, studying the many cave mouths that led the way. Which way do you think we should go? I have an idea, Sally began, then clapped her hand over her mouth. Remember, I can't help. This is all you. Great, Bunnie grumbled. I guess we'll just have to look for a cave that stands out from the others. Lead the way, Bunnie. Bunnie walked off with Sally close behind. Bunnie looked into each cave, but they all seemed to be duplicates of the one they were in. This is hopeless, Bunnie sighed. Then he noticed a weird glow off to her right. Bunnie indicated the glow to Sally and crept over to the cave. Inside the cave was a wondrous sight. Even though the cave itself was similar to all the others, there was no living plant or animal life. Instead, everything that wasn't stone was metal. Metallic plants, metallic animals, almost as if... Bunnie turned away from the cave, shivering uncontrollably. Bunnie? Sally asked, worried. What's wrong? Wordlessly, Bunnie indicated the cave, as well as a peculiar purple glow that suffused the cave walls every now and again. Sally saw and understood. Everything in that cave is robotic, she exclaimed. But how? Actually, that's just the Phantom Ruby. My apologies. It must be similar to the roboticizer, Bunnie said, when she had finally calmed down enough to talk. Oh, Sally girl, what if it roboticizes me when I try to go through it? This has gotta be one of my greatest fears. I know, Bunnie. I'd feel the same if I were you. Bunnie turned around and forced herself to study the cave. It's not all that long, she observed. 10, 15 seats at most. But I can't afford to get any more robotic than I already am. Bunnie poked her normal hand into the cave. Immediately, purple light sprung from the cave and onto her hand. Bunnie snatched her hand back, but not before the tips of her fingers had been roboticized. Tears of fright fell from Bunnie's eyes, but they turned to tears of relief when her fingers returned to normal. Oh my stars! At least it's not permanent. Sally, do y'all think you could run through the cave first, so I could see how it acts? I don't know, Bunnie, Sally said doubtfully. Wouldn't that be considered helping you? I don't think so. I mean, you gotta through it eventually if you're gonna come with me. I'm just asking you to go first. Sounds good to me, Sally said, rubbing up her legs. See you on the other side. So he took off, leaving a mini sonic boom behind. The purple light of the cave surrounded her, but she was through the cave in a second. She stopped just outside the cave, holding up her hands for Bunnie to see. They were the only things robotic on her body, but soon they returned to normal. Bunnie shook her head. Wow, I wouldn't give for her spade, she thought. Then mustering all her courage, she shut her eyes and ran to the cave. She counted the steps as she felt her body changing. 3 steps, 5, 7, 9. Bunnie dove and counted 10, feeling her head beginning to change after her body had finished. She hit the ground hard, sliding a few extra feet. Bunnie! Sally yelled, kneeling beside her friend and rolling her on her back. Bunnie opened her eyes carefully. Leon like it? She asked, her voice no longer than barely a whisper. Barely, Sally said, helping her stand. The only thing not robotic is your face. Sally stared at her body, not breathing again, until it had returned to its former state. She breathed out a sigh of relief. You know, I almost thought my body would return to normal when I got through, she said. No such slick, Bunnie, Sally said, smiling. Well, that must have been the first challenge, Bunnie said. Come, let's try and find the second one. Sally nodded. The 2 friends set off. After a few minutes of walking in silence, they came upon a dead end. Guess we went the wrong way, Sally said. Bunnie stared at the rock formation at the end of the tunnel. You know, you look at the rocks in the right way. It almost looks like a voice. I think you're right, Bunnie. Could this be your second challenge? My boy, Bunnie agreed, approaching the rocks. As he got close, the eyes of the rock face suddenly snapped open. A yellow beam shot out, heading straight for Sally. Move aside, girl! Bunnie yelled, putting herself between Sally and the beam. The beam passed right through Bunnie with no visible effect and continued on to Sally. Sally tried to dodge the beam, but it curved in midair. She screamed as the beam enveloped her. Then she disappeared in a brilliant flash of light. Sally! Bunnie yelled, right to where Sally had been standing. She searched for some clue of what had happened to her friend, but no trace of her remained. Oh no, she whispered, dropping to her knees. Sally! The sound of rock grinding against rock drew her attention. She looked back to where the face had been. She saw a rock golem standing in front of a passage. It leered at her, daring her to get past it. Bunnie didn't need much provocation. She threw herself at the creature, only to be slapped in the wall by a stone fist. She lunged again with similar results. I gotta calm down, she thought, wiping a trickle of blood from her lip. This thing's gonna have me for lunch otherwise. Bunnie approached the monster as before,
but this time only faked the lungs. When the creature swiped its arm, it ducked underneath and tried to kick out its legs. The leg crumbled and the monster went down.
I ain't so tough,
Bunnie said, punching with her normal fist. The creature laughed at the contact. It was only Ned, Bunnie, some bruised knuckles. She stared at her first, not wanting to make sure of it. The golem grabbed her around the neck and started to squeeze. Bunnie grabbed his wrist with both hands and tried to pull it off. The rock crumbled beneath her robotic hand, but was untouched under her normal one. Bunnie didn't realize the key. She punched again using her robotic fist. The creature's shoulder crumbled to dust, and the arm falling out cracking against the ground. She continued beating on the monster with robotic parts until nothing but dust remained. Bunnie stood there, breathing heavily. "That was for you, Sally!" she cried, punching the wall. After a few moments of crying, she took a deep breath and tried to calm down. "Well, I got this far, so I might as well keep going," she thought. "I just hope it's worth all this trouble." Bunnie walked down the passage, thinking about what had just happened. She didn't really believe Sally was dead. For what she knew about the gem wasn't much. It does seem to be an evil thing. Just in particular how you got your wish. Donovan said that Sally might be used against me as a hindrance, she remembered. That means I'll probably end up seeing her in the third challenge. And that brought her to her thoughts to another thing Donovan said. He also said I might not want to wish these things away. I'll admit they do come in handy in a fight. I never really thought of the consequences if I do lose them. I mean, how will I fight the slot boss or use heavy equipment? Just as he came to a fork in the tunnel. One was dark, but the other was filled with light. She powered down the tunnel and saw a greenish gem on a pedestal in the distance. Look, no third challenge? She called almost jokingly. Almost as if in response, she heard a faint voice calling from the other tunnel. Bunnie! Help me! That sounds like Sally! She thought. All of a sudden the ground started to shake. What the hoo-hoo? The rocks started falling across the entrance to the tunnels. Bunnie saw her dilemma. She could either go to the gem, make her wish, or see what's wrong with her friend. No contest higher, she muttered, racing down the dark tunnel. When she reached the end, she saw Sally strapped to the floor, staring up at the ceiling in horror. Bunnie looked and saw what was descending at a very rapid pace. We gotta get you out of here, Sally girl, Bunnie said, pulling the ropes to help Sally down. No time, Sally yelled. You better get out of here. No way am I leaving you. Bunnie looked around and saw a small hole in the ceiling. Be right back, she said, walking underneath it. She extended her legs and saw a switch through a small crack in the wall. Hurry, Bunnie! Sally called. She reached for the switch, but her robotic arm was too thick to fit through. She pressed herself against the wall and tried to reach it with her normal hand. She stretched her arm to its limit and just managed to trick the switch. She retracted her legs and ran back to Sally. Sally was standing up, staring in wonder at the silly, which was retreating. I don't know what you did, Bunnie, Sally said, rubbing her wrists, but I'm glad you did it. Love you too, Sally, Bunnie agreed, hugging her friend. Come on, we best be getting back to that hole. Huh? Does she still have to make your wish? I gave that up to rescue you, she said, explaining about the choice she had to make. Oh, Bunnie, I'm sorry, Sally apologized. If there's any way I can make it up to you, just let me know, okay? There is no need for that, a voice said, startling them. Before either one could react, they found themselves teleported in front of a 10-faced green gem that was large enough to be held with both hands. It was flawless. It seemed to glow with its own light. You have passed my 3 challenges, the gem said, pulsating with light as each word was spoken. To earn your wish, you must now answer my riddle. Riddle? Bunnie said disbelievingly. Donovan didn't say nothing about no riddle. That's because you didn't ask, Donovan said, stepping out of the shadows. I only offer what information is asking me. Well, let's hear it, Lan, Bunnie said, addressing the gem. Listen to me, and listen well, and what I refer to you must tell. Often talked of, never seen, ever coming, never been. Daily looked for, never here, still approaching, coming near. Thousands for its visit wait, but alas for their fate. Though they expect me to appear, they never find me here. Tomorrow? Bunnie stood dumbfounded by the riddle. She glanced at Sally and Donovan and saw them equally mystified. Well, that's a good sign, she thought sarcastically.
See, constantly a riddle. What could everyone be talking about and laying for, but never gets here? She asks herself. Don't have a clue. Something that comes close, but never arrives. She thought about it for a few moments. What do I look forward to, but never see? I look forward to a lot of things. Well, one day in the future, I hope to see them. They answered her like a bolt of lightning. The answer's tomorrow, Bunnie said confidently. By definition, tomorrow is always the next day. So tomorrow never actually gets here, and everyone waits for tomorrow, waiting for it to come today. A thunderclap sounded, shaking the ground they stood upon. Correct. Now you can make your wish. Bunnie picked up the stone and held it with her 2 hands. It's hard getting here, she said, holding the stone close to her chest. Now I don't know what I really want, if I came here for. What do you mean, Bunnie? Sally asked. Bunnie smiled sadly. The towns I went through showed me I really need these parts, no matter how much I don't like them. I've had them so long they've become a part of me. Without them, I've never gone here. Besides, what chance would we have against the swap butts without them? You know, it sounds like this. I wish we actually used the post-reboot origin of Sally of Bunnie's robotic parts. I really like that story, okay? But what are you going to wish for then? Right now, the only thing I want with all my heart is to live a full and happy life with Antoine. So that's my wish. Bunnie closed her eyes, expecting some sign her wish was granted. But nothing happened. Another thing I forgot to mention. Donovan says he opened her eyes. The gem will not grant a wish that will come true of its own accord. Bunnie blushed slightly. Oh, my stars, she whispered. I really don't know what to wish for. Well, you better wish for something, Donovan said, checking his watch. You don't have much time. Bunnie thought back to that turret challenge. You know, when I saved Sally, I used both my robotic and normal parts. Too bad I can't wish to be able to change these parts back and forth between robotic and normal whenever I want, with no time of sound effects. Another thunderclap sounded. Wish granted, the gem said, lifting from her hands and returning to the pedestal. Bunnie stared at the gem. Well, what? I don't mind! Finally, Donovan exclaimed. We strike gray matter. Bunnie struggled to recall what she had said. I mean, I could be normal when I want, like this other times? Donovan nodded. I was hoping you hit upon it. Now you 2 ladies might want to stand over here, he said, walking to the circle he'd drawn into the dirt. Why would we? Sally began, then was cut off as a tremor struck the cave. Another thing you didn't mention? She demanded. Donovan just shrugged. Sally and Bunnie hurried to the circle, just as the cave started to collapse. Stalactites crashed all around them, but none actually entered the circle. When the ground buckled, all could feel tremendous pressure build beneath them. The grounding were sat up, through a hole in the ceiling, propelled by a geyser of steam. Bunnie and Sally looked around in fear and terror as the rock they stood on climbed higher and higher in the sky. But Donovan seemed unperturbed. I suggest you use your whistle, he said, looking over the edge as the forest receded beneath them. Sally pulled the whistle from her pocket and blew forcefully. The whistle pierced the chill air and was immediately followed by the sound of beating wings. What about you, Donovan? Bunnie asked as a ray of ascent turned to a ray of descent. I'll be fine, he said, unworried. Dulcie slipped down before anything else could be said and grabbed Sally and Bunnie off the rock. Donovan waved goodbye and jumped on the F. Is he crazy? I don't think so, Dulcie, Sally said thoughtfully. She and Bunnie climbed onto Dulcie's back. I think his confidence has something to do with the wish he made. The one he made? Bunnie asked. Remember? He said he had found it before. That means he must have made a wish. Maybe, Dulcie said. So did you intend to get your wish? Not what I originally intended, Dulcie, but something even better, Bunnie answered. You'll see when we get back to Knothole. In the meantime, could you fly next to me, Sally? Dulcie asked. It's a long way back to Knothole. I don't need all my strength to get there. I've been flying around since you left. Sure, Dulcie, Sally said, jumping off and flying next to her. When they did get back to Knothole, everyone was waiting for them at the bridge. We heard the whistle, Sally said as they landed safely on the bridge. Bunnie slid out Dulcie. You'll see soon enough, Sugar Hog. Bunnie said, exchanging a secret smile with Sally. But first I want to show Sugar Cow. Assume you looked, Antoine asked, walking slowly towards the group. Antoine, I thought they told you to stay in bed, Bunnie scolded. Antoine shrugged. Behind him, Rotor was hopping after him, tied to a chair.
Sorry, Bunnie. I kept it down as long as I could.
It's okay, Rotor, Bunnie said, smiling. I'll get him back in bed myself, she said, walking to him, and reached for him with a robotic arm. Antoine flinched momentarily. Bunnie looked hurt for a second, but then nodded. Oops, I forgot. She closed her eyes and concentrated, willing her parts to return to normal. She felt something happen to her arms and legs, but couldn't tell what. When the feeling ended, she opened her eyes and saw Antoine staring open-mouthed at her. Looking down at her body, everything was back to normal. Yes! She exclaimed, pumping her fist in the air. The Bunnie body is back! It's time to stay.
What happens to us now? Someone asked. You were our best fighter.
I still am, Bunnie answered, returning her legs to her bike for a second. She found it was easier this time, and would just get to the point where she could only require a thought to change. Thus now I don't have to stay like that all the time. She turned to Antoine and picked him up in her arms. Now, you're going back to bed, she said, carrying him out to her hut, and I'm making sure you stay there, one way or another. Whips and chains and kinky leather, Antoine's going to get laid tonight. Everyone just watched him go, a mixture of surprise and happiness on their faces. Man, I bet you have one wild tale to tell, huh, Sal? Sonic asked, shaking his head as the crowd disappeared. Sonic, you don't know the half of it. As everyone headed back to Knothole proper, no one noticed a lone figure slinking off towards Robotropolis. No one, that is, except a certain gray squirrel watching from the trees. On vacation next week, so, expect the next part 2 weeks from now. See you later!